What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Daily Walk with Lance. And this is where I take my morning devotional, I take some notes down, and then I share it with you guys. Like I say before every video, don't look at me as a spiritual leader or pastor, nothing like that. I'm just the average guy trying to put more Jesus on the internet. Um, I got to thinking one day, the internet is this great tool that we use, but we don't really use it for Jesus. And if we were to go to heaven right now and we were meeting the disciples, they literally had to travel to be heard, or people had to travel to them. It was the only way that you were heard, or like if it was kind of the beginning of like manuscripts and stuff like that. So like there was written word, but there was no like you couldn't go hear anyone speak on the word unless you traveled to them or they traveled to you. So I don't want to go to heaven and be like, you know what? We had this tool where we could talk to people thousands of miles apart in an instant. And we don't use it to spread the word of God, the gospel. Like we just we just we just use it for our own selfish desires and purposes, and we go on our way. So I'm just the average Joe trying to put more Jesus on the internet. Uh, oh, and also, I think I'm gonna add a little something to every video. I think I'm gonna add like a little fun fact in there, but just a little something that we don't really think about sometimes. And I may not do it every video. I had one pop up in my I had one pop up in my mind today, and so I kind of wanted to share it, but it has nothing to do with my devotional. And there's that one guy that does the short videos where he does like the fun fact about something. Like he'll say something controversial, and then he'll say, "Oh, and fun fact, did you know this?" And so I think I'm gonna start doing it at least sometimes. Um, Today, let's just do it. Let's just do it at the beginning of today. Did you know that Cain is still alive? Because and yes, Cain and Abel came. Part of his punishment because after he did what he did to Abel, he went to God and he said, "If you throw me out into the wild, I'm gonna be like they're gonna take my head." And God said, "No, part of your punishment is that you can never die. You will be forced to walk the earth, and nobody will be able to take your life." And so part of Cain's punishment is he's still alive out there somewhere. Like if I was him, I would probably still be like close to the home. So I would probably still be like in the Middle East somewhere, and he's probably one of the evil entities that's trying to help bring in the Antichrist. Like I've again that part's just my own conjecture. But yeah, so the fun fact is, hey, Cain's still alive, and biblically backed up. Oh, I should have wrote the verse down. Next time I'll write the verse down. So if you want to figure out which verse that is specifically, it's obviously right there at the beginning of the Old Testament because of Cain and Abel. But I don't know. I'm blanking on the exact passage. So Google the passage for yourself. Make sure I'm not making a mistake. That way you can study to show yourself approved. Because you shouldn't be relying on a pastor, teacher, content creator for your daily devotional. Watching us should just be an additive to your own personal walk. All right, so let's get into the one today. This is the Bible verse or Bible devotional for December 7th. As always, we are in the New American Standard Bible. We're back in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verses 27 to 33. And this is obviously King Solomon is the author of Proverbs altogether, but this is considered like a wisdom, like the King Solomon's wisdoms section of Proverbs. And it reads, a worthless person digs up evil while his words are like scorching fire. A perverse person spreads strife, and a slanderer separates close friends. A person of violence entices his neighbor and leads him in a way that is not good. He who works he who works his eyes wait. He who winks his eyes does so to devise perverse things. He who compromises compromises his lips like he who he who compresses his lips brings evil to pass. If giving it brings evil to pass. If gray hair is a crown of glory, it is found in the way of righteousness. One who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and one who rules his spirit than one who rules his spirit than one who captures a city. The lost Man, I did not write good this morning. I'm sorry. Uh the last the lot oh yeah, here we go. The law is cast into the lap, but it is every decision or yeah, it is every decision is from the Lord. And again, that is Proverbs chapter 16, 27 to 33. And oh my gosh, when I have trouble when I take a second, it's like, oh crap, I did not take my time writing this. And like people say, oh, doctors, they write so fast that it's really hard to read. I kind of developed that same thing that I get the writing too fast. And then it's like, oh crap, what is that word? Because it's usually like a word where it's like one letter changes what the word is and changes the whole meaning of a passage. So that's why I always say read this passages for yourself, because sometimes I make mistakes because I'm human. And like I said, I'm no prophet, I'm no author, I'm no leader. So like I'm not trying to like lead anyone astray or anything. Just sometimes I'm human. And let's see. Oh, I want to start when it says perverse, like it says, a perverse person spreads strife. Perverse means like a troublemaker, like a gossiper, like that it like. I want to tell a personal story here, but I don't know how to do it because I don't. It's not like my personal story. It's a story that I saw. So I don't want to like give away anybody's business, but there was somebody I used to know, and I'm trying, like I said, I'm trying to not give people's business, but basically, this guy and this girl grew up together. They were a couple of years apart. It was like 3 years, 3 years. So they grew up together, and then as they started getting older, they started dating, and then the parents of one of them thought it was inappropriate, ruined his life, split them up. Like they don't know each other anymore. And then each of them ended up going down a really dark path. Like one, well, both of them have fallen into the ways of the world. One in the false rainbow, and the other one actually he is in a church of evil now. And it was all because of one person. One person felt like, and when I say 3 years, I mean like it was like 2 years and a little bit, I think. So like there came the point where one was 16 and one was 18, and they ruined his life because he was the 18-year-old. They ruined him. Like you can't even like speak up for him hardly without it ruining part of your reputation, and it it just it angers me so because they had a purpose. God had a purpose for the two of them, and it wasn't like a 19-year-old and a 14-year-old. Like I said, it was literally like 18 and 16. They were right there, like they were in school together. They grew up together. Like this wasn't this wasn't this wasn't like the what you would think of a wrong relationship. It is something that it's just like, okay, even if they didn't like him, and that like they didn't have to go and ruin his life, because as a society we've said 18's the cutoff if ands or buts, and we ruin people's lives even if they're 18 and 16, which I think is ridiculous. Um, like I said, they were literally in the same school their entire life, but that's part of this cancel culture, politically correct nonsense that we've gotten into. That we don't even blink an eye when a 20 well let's when a 25-year-old, if they start dating a 45-year-old, we don't, it's fine. Society accepts it. But when an 18 and a 16-year-old, and they weren't in lust or anything like that. They were a very biblical relationship. And they ruined him over it. Just and now, I don't even think that church is a thing anymore. That church ended up splitting and splitting and then splitting again. And I'm pretty sure they sold the property off. Like, and it kind of all started with that. And I don't know. I'm ranting about a situation that just it bugs me. It bugs me that we care more about 2 years than 20 years. It bugs me because it says right here, where is it? Um, a perverse person spreads strife, and a slanderer separates close friends. And that's exactly what happened here. One family slandered the man, and this boy and this girl who grew up together were close friends were separated outright. Like, and that's kind of why I'm stuck on this right now. It's because, again, he was slandered, a close friendship was broken up, and now both of them have gone away from God. Like, no good came out of that situation whatsoever. Whereas, if they had, even even if they had left them alone and broken up, like that would have been one thing. But if they'd have left them alone, they would be parents right now themselves, because they're much older now themselves as well. Because this was kind of back when Me Too was kind of kicking off, and he was one of those. He was a decent guy in every sense of the word. Like, he wasn't perfect, but he was saving himself for marriage. He was in church. He was living he was living a life that we should all strive to live. And one person slanders him, and now that entire relationship got ruined. That entire church ended up splitting up. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm telling a story I shouldn't tell, but it's the whole, a perverse person spreads strife, and a slanderer separates close friends. And that's just a direct one-for-one example of it. And I can't get it out of my head. Like, that's just what the devil does. He likes to sneak in, say something that isn't true, but because it's such a heinous accusation, it ends up destroying that person, because they don't know how to. Not only do they not know how to handle it, but as a society, we have said by default, ruin that dude's life. And I used to be a white knighter, believed every woman. Like, I used to be that guy. And just the more situations I see, it's like there was a time when women could have spoken up and nobody would have believed them. They would have said, "Why would a man do that? Why would a man risk his spot in the community to do that?" And then we started finding out, hey, some of those women were telling the truth, and some of these men should have been taken down. And we've completely swung the other way to where it doesn't matter what a dude says, it doesn't matter what proof a dude has. If a woman wants to slander him, she can do it, and society's going to take her side. Right? That's just the way it is right now. And the truth is lost either way. And we need to be more conscious, especially as Americans, to say, instead of taking a headline and saying that headline is proof, looking into the proof and the details of the matter and saying, okay, that one's true, but this one isn't, or this one is exaggeration, and or this one is real. Like, we've got to get back to a point where we assume people are speaking. If they're not a Christian, more than likely they're either exaggerating or speaking an untruth, and we need to look at it more. And then when a Christian says something, we need to hold them to the standard that there needs to be at least two witnesses, and at least, like, the Bible sets up a way for us to know things and how to judge things and be discerning. And if we're not willing to have those uncomfortable conversations, we're no better than the devil, because the devil loves to come into a situation, whisper one word, and then leave, and then we do all of the damage ourselves. Sorry, that's like I completely went on a rant today. But this passage, getting back into the devotional, this passage is contrasting wicked actions and righteous actions. So it starts out with a worthless person, an evil person, a perverse or a troublemaker, someone who spreads strife, someone who slanders, a person who is prone to violence. Like, all of that falls into the wicked category. And in the righteous category, you got people that are slow to anger, that are loving, that are also willing to tell people no, because sometimes that fatherly love is what we need. We need that hard time. We need that trial to get through something and to learn going forward. And God is sovereign over all events. Like, so there's no event in your life that God didn't see coming, and that He doesn't have a way out, a way for you to go through it. And then there's also the way that you put yourself through it. So it's whether you trust God's path or you worry and try to create your own path and you royally screw up. Like, that was my huge mistake, is trying to make my own path when I should have just followed the word of God. And let's see, I already mentioned perverse equals troublemaker. And the divine decides the outcomes. It's not random choice. So that's why God tells us to include Him in our daily lives and our daily activities, because what happens to us is either from God or not from God. And if we're following God and we see His path and we find His path, and though it may not be the one we want to go on, it's the one that's going to help us the most. All right, y'all. Sorry, like I said, that story, to the people who know it, it'll. Like I said, I don't mean to put anybody's business out there, but just that story lined up with this devotional, just exactly, like. And like I said, this isn't like, oh, I'm trying to protect some dude. No, like, I have no tie to either one of them today. I don't talk to either of them today. I wasn't even in the church back then. I was still, like, out in the world doing my own thing. But it was just a situation I was aware of. And, so take that what it is. Like I said, it wasn't my church at the time. I did go there a couple times. That's how I kind of knew some of the people that were there. but it wasn't like my regular church or anything. And like I said, the people who think this is about them, there will be people that this wasn't about, and they'll assume it was about them, and it wasn't. And then there is the two families that this was actually about. And oh my gosh, the spam callers! I keep touching my screen because I keep getting spam calls today. All right. Oh, I think I covered everything. So, like I said, if you think this was about you, it probably wasn't. Because, like I said, I'm not friends with these people anymore. I don't even have them on social media or anything like that. So, if you're seeing this and you think the situation kind of sounds like yours, it wasn't. Because if we're still friends, or even if we're still like social media friends, like these people have gone completely their own way. And like I said, we're not even social media friends. I pray and love them, but I hope they come back one day, because what happened to them it wasn't their fault. Like I said, they were 16 and 18 when this happened, and we got to stop ruining people's lives, because that's what we do as Americans. We ruin people's lives, and we got to stop it. We need to learn what situations are real, what situations are fake, and start actually using discernment and stop just trusting one side or the other. Like, because both sides at this point are gonna go, like, they're gonna protect themselves. So the only way to find truth is to investigate, take time away, don't just believe a headline. Alright, y'all, if you like this video, if you would, please drop me a follow, hit that like button, share the video with your friends. That's just the way the algorithm works. It's the way that the message gets out there. And who knows, maybe those two families end up seeing this, and maybe they can reconcile somehow, because I'd love to just see the families get back to where they were. As far as at least walking with God, because like I said, they turned completely away from Christianity altogether. And even if they can't fix the situation between the two of them, I hope for their own salvation and souls that they get back into church to get right with God. Even if they can't get right together, like I say, forgiveness is a one-way street. Reconciliation is a two-way street. And if they can at least forgive, they may not be able to reconcile, but if they can at least forgive, then that puts them on the right track. And this goes for you as well, and for me as well. We should always try to reconcile with people. It's kind of like Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell said. He said, you owe people love, but you don't owe them access. Well, you owe people forgiveness, you don't owe them reconciliation, because some people don't want to reconcile with you. But you do owe them forgiveness. We all owe each other forgiveness. Like when they asked Jesus specifically, he didn't say 70 times 7. He said at least 70 times 7. And I guarantee you ain't forgave someone that many times. And if you think you have, then maybe you need to do a little soul searching yourself, because that would mean, like, for 3 years straight, they did something wrong. Like, I don't believe that. I understand, like, it could happen, but for most people, no. Like, most of the time, it's one situation that blows up and ends up causing months of frustration, when if you would just take care of it, maybe you could move on, maybe you could fix it, you know, or you could at minimum move on, because once you try forgiveness, that's what you owe people. Because at the end of the day, you shouldn't still be thinking about them. And it's basically, you don't hold grudges. You address the situation, and then you let it go. Alright, before I keep ranting, this video is already like double my normal videos. Any content creator you watch, please interact with their videos, share their videos. That's just the way the algorithm works. It's not just us grifting, it's people who care about their message getting out there. This is how it happens. It's engagement and an interaction, and sharing the video as you guys. And don't forget to log in to your app, because all the apps have gone. If you're just watching like as a guest, that person, depending on the app, that person doesn't get that view. So you got to be logged in. So make sure you're logging into your apps so that people get credit for your view. And like I said, that's just the way the message spreads. All right, y'all. Remember, your body's the temple, so be getting healthy. I'm still chubby myself, so I'm working on it. But I'm around 235, 240 pounds when I was around 300, and it makes a difference. Even if you put 20 minutes a day, if you'll just take 20 minutes a day, or make it 30, because you got to do some stretching before you work out, if you're. So if you include stretching and then 20 minutes of physical activity, you'll be surprised how much that little bit of activity and effort changes even your attitude. Like, my attitude has completely changed, the better shape I've gotten back in. All right, y'all. I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Sorry about the long video today. Peace.